3:15 Vlat, August 2nd, 2025. Deep beneath the waters of the Sea of Japan, a Russian-built Kilo-class diesel-electric submarine, now sporting Chinese colors, will cut silently towards its mark. Armed with heavyweight Type 53 torpedoes, each carrying over 660 pounds of high explosive, the vessel will simulate a strike that could rip through the steel hull of an enemy destroyer in just under 2 minutes, less time than it took for Joe Biden to find his way out of the stage. Its target? A mock enemy target, 7 miles away from a predetermined firing range in Vladivostok. The terrain is unforgiving, icy currents, tight shipping lanes, and radar coverage everywhere. The Kilo may be old, but today it's bound to prove one thing. Even Cold War antiques are enough to make the Pentagon Situation Room and NATO command centers finally feel useful, if only to contain the panic. It's 3 hours before the $220 million worth of Kilo submarine cuts toward its target off the coast of Primorsky Krai. At about 74 meters long and weighing in at 2,300 tons surfaced, the Kilo is surprisingly agile underwater. It cruises at 20 knots with a range of nearly 6,500 nautical miles. Its real punch comes from 6 533mm torpedo tubes, firing Type 53 torpedoes that carry 675-pound warheads and can chase targets using wake or acoustic homing. Navigation blends sonar, inertial guidance, and the occasional satellite fix when it surfaces. This time, the Euless Bay Naval Base harbor inside Peter the Great Gulf is alive with quiet preparation. There's no shouting, no drama, just disciplined rhythm. On the pier, sailors tighten mooring lines, technicians haul cables, and officers stand in the shade of the superstructure with clipboards in hand. Every detail matters. One missed system check, one loose valve, and this entire exercise stalls before it even begins. Inside the Kilo-class submarine, the control room is dim, green-lit by sonar screens. Crewmen test the MGK-400 sonar suite, listening to the difference between background ocean static and potential hostile pings. The diesel-electric propulsion is cycled, its isolated drive tuned down to a near whisper. A junior officer walks the length of the pressure hull, checking air regeneration units. This boat may be dated, but 2 weeks of submerged endurance means it can still vanish if the systems hold steady. Meanwhile, on the surface, the Type 052D destroyers, Shaoxing and Urumqi, are a hive of motion. At over 7,500 tons and 157 meters long, they are not exactly lightweights. Yet with their QC-280 gas turbines pushing out 30 knots, they can move fast when needed. Crews are moving through checks, 64-cell vertical launch systems, radar calibrations, propulsion drills. Every sailor knows if the sub is the dagger, these destroyers are the shield. Those launch cells matter. Inside them is a mix of HHQ-9 long-range SAMs, YJ-18 anti-ship cruise missiles, CJ-10 land attack missiles, even CY-5 anti-submarine rockets. This is essentially a toolbox of firepower, with each weapon tailored for a different kind of fight. And watching over it all is the Type 346A AESA radar, the so-called Dragon Eye. Its phased arrays sweep air and sea, tracking multiple threats at once. Rumor has it that NATO commanders wish their intel networks tracked half as well. Now, here's where it gets interesting. None of this works in isolation. Control rooms run the JSI DLS and NCTDL tactical data links. Collectively, these links allow Shaoxing and Urumqi to trade live target data with submarines, shore commands, and aircraft. And shadowing them is the Type 903A supply ship. It's not glamorous. It's basically a floating gas station and ammo dump. But at 23,400 tons, with space for 10,000 tons of fuel and hundreds of tons of munitions, it's the reason the whole formation can stay at sea for weeks. When fueling hoses are extended, when pallets of torpedoes slide across, that's the heartbeat of this mission. It's now 30 minutes past 1, Vladivostok time. The crews gather for final briefings. The submarine's captain reminds his men that the Sea of Japan is unforgiving, and a slight error by one crew member could have catastrophic outcomes. Shallow continental shelves mask sonar returns, but also create acoustic traps. Enemy patrols, radar sweeps, even thermoclines can betray them if they are careless. Navigation officers plan inertial fixes, but at some point, the Kilo will need a risky snorkel to grab a satellite lock. An hour and a half later, 1500 sharp, Vladivostok time, the flotilla is ready to move. Lines are cast off, engines hum, and the hulls slide into the cold water. On the Kilo, torpedo crews check the 6 533mm tubes one final time. Each Type 53 heavyweight torpedo carries over 300 kilograms of explosive charge, and in a live fight, it would shred a destroyer in minutes, sending it right into the footnotes of history books. Now, the question hanging like a shadow over the harbor is, can an old Soviet-era submarine, escorted by modern Chinese destroyers, slip unnoticed through NATO surveillance? Or will the eyes in the sky catch the faintest ripple? At 15:30 local time, the Kilo slips beneath the fog-draped surface of the Sea of Japan. It's cold enough below the surface that every rivet and weld in the hull feels it. For the crew, that's both a blessing and a curse. They rely on the cold currents to help dampen acoustic signatures, giving the sub a stealth advantage. But these cold currents also mean the hull creaks louder, and every sonar calibration has to be razor sharp. One slip, one echo out of place, and someone's going to hear. The Kilo moves at about 20 knots, heading for a simulated target 124 miles away. On paper, that's a straight shot, around 10 hours submerged before it hits the zone. But the crew is fully aware of just how unpredictable and hostile the Sea of Japan can be. Over here, Japanese surveillance corridors cut across like invisible fences. Maritime patrol aircraft, such as the P-3 Orion and P-8 Poseidon, sweep the skies overhead. On the other hand, ASW frigates and destroyers listen for any out-of-place vibration below. Add in the shallow continental shelf terrain, and suddenly the Kilo's world is less an open sea and more a maze. The crew leans hard on their MGK 400 EM sonar and the rubber anechoic tiles glued to the hull. They filter out background chatter, track faint contacts, and ride thermal layers like highways in the dark. Still, there's always that tension. How long can they stay invisible before someone drops a sonar buoy right on their path? Down here, it's less a game of hide and seek and more like playing Russian roulette, except the gun's already cocked, and you are not sure if the next click is silence or a depth charge. Hours later, at about 1:45 local time, the Kilo finally slips into its firing box off the coast of Primorsky Krai, near Vladivostok. This patch of water is a stage watched carefully, not only by Russia's own Pacific Fleet, but also by Western powers. With U.S. 7th Fleet forces operating out of Yokosuka and patrol aircraft cycling through Guam and Okinawa, you can bet there are plenty of ears tuned to any unusual sound out here. Then the call comes. A Type 53 heavyweight beast of a torpedo is loaded into the tube. At over 23 feet long, weighing nearly 2 tons, and carrying around 675 pounds of explosives, it's designed to give scores of people a break from breathing, permanently. When this torpedo launches, it cuts through the water at around 52 miles per hour. The mock destroyer target is about 7 nautical miles away, meaning less than 10 minutes stand between silence and a violent impact. Inside the control room, tension is at its peak. As the sonar screens flicker, every man knows that once the torpedo's wake-homing guidance kicks in, it's a straight shot. No second chances, no do-overs. And when it hits, the underwater blast would send shockwaves across the basin. Literally. Sensitive monitoring buoys and even seismic stations will pick it up, and you can be sure NATO's listening. With more Western naval activity creeping into the Western Pacific, every move like this doubles as a message. We can hide, we can strike, and we're closer than you think. For Beijing, fielding these subs is more than just about patrols. It's a deliberate signal of support to Moscow, which has already warned that Western provocations in these waters are nothing less than a step towards war. In every shadow of conflict, there's a story waiting to be told, and we will keep telling it.